Take a look at the next drill in our butterfly series. This drill is going to be a 2-1-2 without fins. So here what we would look for is the two strokes of the left, beautiful job, a single stroke of a double, beautiful job, and then two strokes then of the right. I'm going to back up here and as we always do, kind of go over those key items and things that we look for here in the stroke. So here, just as we mentioned, there's no fins, but what we want to see is those feet here being nice and pointed, nice and long. And then what we want to look for is just what we're going to say is just this natural flexion of the knee, something that we would kind of consider natural, not anything where it's too much or too little. So by too little, we would kind of mean this. If the legs are just this straight as we're traveling through the water, we're not going to really be able to create any power ultimately to move forward. What would too much be? Too much would be if the knees are at that 90-degree mark or more, or kind of even approaching that. Now remember, every athlete's going to have a little bit of a different range of motion just because maybe of mobility or flexibility in certain joints or muscle groups. So ultimately, it's important to remember that you want to find what's going to work ultimately best for either for you or your athletes. But remember, some sort of knee flexion is going to have to be present. Here, as the feet are rising, we want you guys to kind of take a notice of this. The hips and shoulders here are going to be up and the hips here are going to be down. There's always going to be this inverse relationship between those two items. So you kind of see right here, actually it'd probably be right there. Here's a little bit better. Hips are up and then the feet and the chest or shoulder area are down. So there's always that inverse relationship. Then as those feet are going up, what we want to see them is then pushing down. Feel that right there. So that's going to give us that ultimate surge to really move forward here. So we take a look at the left arm here. We're going to want to see the right arm just staying up in front. That left arm here is going to be pushing back. We're going to want to see that hand kind of come out at that hip area. That hip area is going to be a little, or think about it of a range of motion or a range of length here. Now for girls, you can come out anywhere where the suit is going to be cut on the hip to that hip area. We're going to want to see that arm stay nice, low and long, and then enter in front of that shoulder area right here, pressing down with that chest area. So that way then we can really see the shoulders, then the hips, and then the legs here as we're performing the movement. On this double, we see here a breath being taken. So as those hands here are going to be passing the shoulders, we're taking that breath. Perfect. We want to be able to have that chin just elevated up, those eyes looking diagonal, hands coming out at that hip area, going across the water, getting that head back down, hands landing here in front of those shoulders, and then pulling through. As we take a look at the right, again, that same range on the exit point. Remember that hand, we want to stay nice and low and are in front of the shoulders. And then we're going to repeat that one more time. As we take a look then at the push-off view here, the kick feet here are really nice and pointed. And what we're going to see is these knees go up. And then look at the power that's going to be created as those legs go down. Perfect. Again, that's just these are going to be things that are going to really help the kick enough for us to ultimately really move forward here with that stroke. On our return view here, what we're going to look for is just going to be the same items, just a little bit with a different perspective here. So here the left arm, just again, we would like to see this be a little bit lower to the surface of the water. And then remember the entry point should be right here in front of the shoulder. So we're a little bit inside. We would just kind of encourage that to be a little bit more outside here, right along where that shoulder line is. Do a great job though. Here we see those shoulders, then we see the hips, and then we'll see then the feet. Perfect right there. Taking that breath, nice low to the surface. Eyes here looking forward as we're going to go into that double, that entry point. And remember, for us and things that we would like to emphasize is going to be here with those arms being a little bit more along the shoulder line right here as we move through. Then we're going to take a look at that last side. Now remember here, great job of coming out at the hip. Again, we would just like to see this arm be a little bit more to the outside of the shoulders here on that entry, because otherwise what we see then is, see that little movement right here where we're going to be going out to set the catch rather than being able to get into the catch immediately. We take a look at the underwater view. What we want to again just to kind of like look for is that entry point. So here, kind of seeing we're in front of the head. We can, because what's going to happen here is there's just going to be this out sweep. See that right there? But look where we would end up, right where we would ultimately want to be with those hands being a little bit more right in that kind of shoulder area. Then what we want to see is the fingertips are going to get down and pull the water. So kind of what we would want to see here at this point is what we would say is that power triangle movement of the shoulders. So here we have a pretty big opportunity to bring those arms in a little bit more into, so that the arms are directly a little bit more under the shoulders here. Ultimately, it's going to help us get a little bit better feel of the water, so that way we can really grab it and then really push through. Now, another thing we want you guys to just take a notice again. Remember, every athlete can do these drills to a little bit of a different level. Now, as we coming in here, we see those hands kind of creating our press-like movement. What we would like to see is those arms be a little bit up closer to the surface. Doing that will keep the body in a little bit of a better position as we're moving through the water. So then look at where we end up about right here, which would be just perfect and ultimately where we want to be. Arms that are going to be up a little bit higher. The head here will be tucked in between those arms. Then the chest here is at that deepest point. Now remember, athletes are going to be able to perform these drills to various ability levels. That's why it's really important that we're going to continue to coach them up, give them feedback, and really help them be put in positions to be able to be successful, but also to learn from when things are not performed maybe to the level that we would like them to be. Ultimately, if you found some great value out of this, be sure to drop a like and subscribe.